Welcome back, and thank you for joining me again on Superliminal. And today I've got the return of the incredible Elisabeth Hancock. I invited Elisabeth back onto the show because she's just launched her new book, which is Human Origins, the Multiverse and Our Star Ancestry. It's a fascinating read, and for anybody who even has the slightest inkling that our history is not what we've been told it is, then this is the book for you. And it doesn't matter whether you're a seasoned pro, whether you have a good broad knowledge of the subject, or whether you're just starting out in discovering or even rediscovering that the history that's been written and the history that we've been told is nowhere near the truth. It doesn't matter what level you're at. This book is really fantastic because if you're at the beginning of the journey, it paints a really broad overview. And if you've done a bit of work on it like I have, it's really good for reconnecting the dots and re-embedding almost your awareness of the broader picture. It is such a good read, and Elisabeth has done the most amazing amount of research. I mean, I asked her off camera how on earth she does it, given how restrictive the main search engines are. They're not really search engines anymore, unfortunately. They're more of a curated news feed, if you like. So in other words, it gives you the information that you think you want to see. And also, of course, information now has become very heavily censored. That is the truth of the situation. But anyway, Elisabeth has done an incredible job of finding this information. She spent over a decade researching it and has just launched the new book, which I highly recommend. You can find it on Amazon anywhere. So for now, that's all from me. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you in a second. Oh, and a quick reminder I forgot there just at the end. As always, please, if you can subscribe, comment, share using the share function on YouTube, and like, it really does help the algorithm get this amazing information out from these incredible guests out to people like you and I who need to see it. So thanks again, and I'll see you in a sec. Welcome back to Superliminal Podcast, and I am beyond excited to have the incredible Elisabeth Hancock back on the show. Now, for those of you who are subscribers and are regular watchers of the podcast, you'll know that Elisabeth was one of my first guests a few months ago, and we had an incredible conversation, which if you look through the videos list, you'll be able to see. And I highly recommend that because it sets up this conversation really, really well. But that said, it's great to have her back. And the main reason I invited her back is because she's just launched her new book, which I've been waiting so long for. I was blessed enough to read a draft copy of it, but I just had to get my own copy. So again, get yourself to Amazon and get a copy. Human Origins, the Multiverse, and Our Star Ancestry. And I know I probably sound biased, but honestly, it is just incredible because it doesn't really matter whether you're someone like me who's got a reasonably good sense of what's going on, or whether you're a complete newbie. If you're a newbie, it'll just completely blow your mind. If you're familiar with the stuff she shares in there, it's such a great re-anchoring and deepening of the wisdom and connecting the dots. So yeah, anyway, enough from me. Elisabeth, welcome back to Superliminal. I am so happy that you chose to come back, and we can't wait to hear from you. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me back on. And yeah, you're right about the book. The book is it's just joining up dots, because this, I think, is really missing in our world at the moment. Like everything is all over the place. Misinformation is all over the place. Information is all over the place. And it's really hard to trawl through it all and find things that match together, things that join up so that we can understand more about our true history. Because I believe that the reason that we have amnesia as a species, as a collective, is because we don't know our true history. I think we've been lied to on many different levels. And, what we're taught at school, which is where most people end with their understanding of history, it's not correct. It's probably like 1/12 of actual history. I think a lot has been cut out, So that's why I wrote this book, because I just thought we just need to have like a way of saying this led to this, and this led to this, and this led to this, and for me, I like simplified books like this because I think it helps us to understand more about where we've come from, why we're here, and where we're heading next. And these are the three sort of questions that I try and answer in the book, and the areas that fascinate me as an individual, because I'm very much looking to the future and where we're heading next. I think this is really, really important for people now. I think many people are losing hope. Many people just feel so scared, and the world is a chaotic place, or at least the mainstream media tells us that it is. And I think that people need this hope. And that's why chapter 14 is all about where we're going, what's just around the corner. And we can make this happen faster by becoming more heart-led. So it's all about sort of spiritual evolution, if you like. And one of the areas that I touch on in my book is the Tartarians. And when we look at their, the old world buildings that they were responsible for building, we can see that these are very sacred spiritual healing structures that they had. And they used these buildings, for healing, frequency healing, their sound healing within them. They also use them for spiritual growth and, personal development, self-development, but growing as a spiritual being. And that's all been taken out of our history. And we're left now with, we are physical beings of flesh, living in a tightly controlled world. But that's not who we are. We've been taught that the mind is everything. The mind manifests your reality, that if you want something hard enough, you can make it happen with your mind. It's not. It's a spiritual combination, which is the heart and the mind and the body. The body is also a lot more powerful. The body is the energy field of the subconscious mind. So our whole body, mind, heart, it all works together as one for us to have a spiritual experience in a physical body. And this, I think, is very much lacking from our teaching. And so I'm hoping that that's coming across in my book. That's where we need to go. We can change this world so fast. We are the majority. We're 8 billion people. If we just work together, unite, and lead from the heart, we can shift it in an instant. And chapter 14 is showing us what we have just waiting in the wings around the corner to come in, as soon as we can just work together and become more heart-led as a species.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And as I was listening to that, Elisabeth, I was sensing there are probably people watching this who are thinking, that all sounds really great, but so what? Why should I care? Why does that affect me? And what would your response to people be who are thinking that?
Well, I know, I do understand, when you're busy doing the rat race and, all you can be focused on is paying the bills and putting food on the table, then yeah, I understand why not. But who is truly fulfilled during that rat race thing? Who feels true fulfillment in their life on a day-to-day basis? Because we're living in a world where people aren't feeling fulfilled. Most people are depressed. Mental health is a massive, massive issue in this world. And most people are just going through the motions. And the thing is that if you don't want to go through the motions of your life anymore, and this was where I was 10 years ago, in fact, probably most of my life I was depressed, in fact. But I just felt like I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I have to change something. Something has to improve. Something has to get better. And actually, I discovered that spiritual growth, which has got nothing to do with religion, and it's now lumped in with the category of philosophy. I can see, so it's always being lumped in with something, but actually spiritual growth is personal growth. It's self-development, and it's connecting with the energy of the planet, the energies of the cosmos, if you like, we are surrounded by energy. We're surrounded by energy fields, subtle energy. We can sense it when people start talking about the paranormal and the supernormal and things like the supernatural and stuff. This is the energy world that we're living in. The reason that people are so depressed, I feel, is because they've cut themselves off from what I call the energy body. So they're very connected to their physical body, but they're not connected to their energy body. And it's like you've cut your body in half, it's missing its twin, and, it's trying to find it. And, this is like the soulmate industry and the twin flame industry, all these industries have been created to just keep pulling us off from actually finding what we're looking for, which is the other half of us, the energy side of us, and our multidimensional self. And when I say multidimensional, this is mainstream, understanding as well. We are multidimensional. We're physical, we're energy, we're emotional, mental. There's all sorts of different energy fields going on with our body. And mental health could be resolved just like that. It could be resolved in one night. If we could just go back to that Tartarian way of living and being, which is, they used to go into the churches, the massive big churches and cathedrals. They would have the organ playing at 432 hertz. And of course it would change, the octaves would change to 44 hertz, which actually makes the body feel aggressive and stressed. And anyone that can't listen to today's music because it just grates on them, that's because it's in 440, and it actually creates a huge amount of stress for the body, and it actually affects the heart. And of course, the heart is everything. It is the seat of our own consciousness. It's our power. It's the inner voice. It's it's the truth. It tells us what's true and what doesn't. It's like our sort of internal GPS system. And it also allows us to be discerning. So, of course, we've been blocked off from the heart because, who can control an empowered, discerning, 8 billion people who, want to do what they want to do. And, but not in a selfish way, but in a collective, a beautiful collective way. So, I feel that although it may not seem important, just to come back to your question, it may not seem important to be able to start working spiritually, growing in that way, but it's going to make you happier. It's going to make your life better because you're manifesting your reality anyway, whether you realize it or not. We're all manifesting our reality, but most of us are manifesting a reality that we don't want. And the reason we don't want it is because we don't understand how the mind and the heart and the body works together to actually manifest what it is that we're seeing. So we're creator beings, we're manifestor beings, which, you probably have seen, all the social media posts around this, but it is actually true. And when we haven't been taught how manifesting works properly, so we're all doing it wrong and busy manifesting all our limiting beliefs, and our pain and misery and our suffering, and the fact that we hate our jobs and we hate our life. This is what we're manifesting and sending out there. So we're getting more of that back. So, becoming, I didn't really understand the word spiritual. I was actually blocked this for a very long time because it's too much like religion for me, and I really hate religion. But when I started to really understand more about the Tartarians and how they lived their daily life, I understood that this is what spiritual is. And it's living and being and working in a way where you're constantly healing your body. You're constantly uplifting your body, which is what they used to do in in what we call churches and cathedrals, which weren't. They were massive, big healing centers. And they would do this every single day. So they were always connected to the higher dimensions, the higher frequencies of this multidimensional reality. That we call life, and they were always in that their bodies were always working in the optimal way. So they didn't have all those horrible, voices in their head. They didn't have all those, programs coming in. They didn't have all that negative conditioning that we've had with our news and our movies and everything. They were allowed to be the true human form, working energetically and spiritually in order to enhance their day-to-day living. And that's what they did, and they had great lives. They pulled in energy from the ether. They had free energy. They had, the airships, electric cars. I mean, they had so much stuff. And so that's why this empire has been wiped out of our history, because that was only 200 years ago. And if we look at them and say, you know what, I think I would like to live like that, then that's 8 billion people suddenly waking up at the same time saying, I want to live like that. And that was only 200 years ago. So that means that we can still do it. And we still have the buildings in our world, all the old world buildings, we still have them. So we can make this technology work again. We can bring in the free energy again. You know, we can really make an amazing world that we don't want to be trying to escape from the whole time. So yeah, that's what I would say.
That's so incredible. I'm listening to this, just feeling your passion for it. And as just the very end part there, when you were saying about the free energy element, I was listening to a conversation Michael Sala, excuse me, was having, who has a wonderful YouTube podcast called Exopolitics Today, which for anybody who's interested in off-world politics and hidden technologies, as Elizabeth's just been sharing, I highly recommend going to check that out. But one of the things he said was something like over 6,000 patents have been blocked in the USA, and I'm guessing it's way more than that globally, under the guise of national security, which is obviously, in large part, nonsense, because they want us to continue being reliant on oil, gas, coal, and fossil fuels and stuff. And it really does reflect and corroborate everything that you've shared. And listening to you, Elizabeth, it just made me think then that, like, for anyone who's not come across you before, clearly you didn't, you didn't as a young child think, you know what, I'm going to be a truth researcher and get this incredible information out into the world, because it's one hell of a challenging job, just because information is so controlled. So what led you from your early life to the point that you are now to be sharing this incredible information and doing the fabulous work that you're doing for the world?
Well, thank you for that. I mean, I think for me, it was all around intuition, psychic abilities, the supernatural, the occult, all these sorts of things. So being a Scorpio, I've always been interested in all of those areas, anything to do with the hidden, I like. But I think it's sort of, when I was a child, I was very, very intuitive then. But then life sort of happened and you just block it down, And I was depressed for most of my life. And, I always felt like there was something missing. And then around 10 years ago, my mum died. And I started to hear her voice in my head, and I heard it for about a year. And then one day my sister was coming to visit, and I asked my mum, do you want to give her a message? And so I passed it on to my sister. And it was so deeply profound for her. I was actually quite shocked at how profound it was, because it was such a simple message. And I started to think, could I have actually been speaking to my mother? Is it possible to actually speak to people who've died? And so I started to explore this. And this is where I went from my first book, which you can see behind here, Work Your Energy. And I started to explore, multidimensionality, string theory, M theory, all the sort of the science I could get, because I've always had quite a rational, logical mind. And I think that there's a plausible explanation for everything. And I think that the movies have done a very good job of, sort of brainwashing us into the category, where we sort of think that everything's, like weird and everything like this. But actually, I feel from my own research that there's an explanation behind everything. And it usually is probably around quantum physics, So I think that quantum physics is very much showing us all this weird stuff and the electromagnetic energy field. This is all the weird stuff, It's just that we don't understand it. It's advanced technology that our ancestors had. I suspect even, the Tartarians 200 years ago had this. They understood it in a way that we have not been taught this. And equally, we've been brainwashed by the movie industry, into thinking, that any noises in the house or, like sort of feelings or anything is all, like bad and the devil and, it's all this sort of stuff, But it's actually not. It's advanced physics that we just don't understand yet, and most likely the field of consciousness as well, which we now know underpins the quantum field. So I started researching all of this. At the same time, my daughter was seeing entities and beings in the house. She was also talking about her past life, and again, I started to think, could this be true? Could she, what is she seeing? Because she was looking at them, she was describing them in detail that was beyond the capability of a 2, 3, 4-year-old, She stopped seeing them when she was around 4. And I just started just to explore, a mother wants to know what her child is going through. And my mother very much shut me down. She was just so scared about everything. She lived in this level of fear throughout her whole life. And so she couldn't deal with anything. Everything was shut down, and that's the worst thing you can do with a child. If you shut them down, they'll just feel depressed for the whole of their life because you've shut down a part of their psyche. We need to have all of our psyche accepted and understood and loved by us and by the people around us. And even mental health is going in this direction now. They're understanding the spiritual aspect of the human psyche. And by spiritual, I mean energy. Spiritual just means invisible, energy, something that we can't see. And we're surrounded by energies. And there's higher frequencies and lower frequencies. The lower frequencies, are like fear, guilt, shame. And, anyone that's religious, we've been taught guilt and shame through the church. We've been taught fear through the mainstream media and the news. And, we've been taught ridicule of our own talents and skills and abilities by the education system. So we're all down here. And that's another reason why we're all depressed. So we need to get up here, and when we're connecting with the higher frequencies that are already on our planet, but connecting with those higher frequencies. And that's when it starts to do stuff to your brain and you start to have magical experiences. And this is what Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, and you start to manifest a better reality and your life gets better, and it's been put into the woo-woo and the weird and wacky category because, nobody wants anyone accessing this. But it's normal. It's who we are anyway. So, I sort of started to research all of this and I was busy switching back all these different parts of my brain, all these different parts of my body, gaining my, sort of my intuitive or psychic abilities back again, all these different things, and having these mystical experiences and not being able to describe or explain what I was experiencing and feeling like I was going insane a lot of the time as well. But now I understand it's all normal. It's all normal. And, I've always been passionate about human potential. And I actually have a master's in personal development. And when I understood that our human potential is off the Richter scale to what we can actually do as an individual, and becoming the best version of yourself is essentially connecting to all the different multidimensional, versions or aspects of yourself. And that's the energetic aspects of the spiritual aspects of yourself as well. The heart keeps us connected to the higher frequencies, which is why the heart's so important and why I believe the heart's been traumatized, because it's traumatized, so it's down here. But we need to be up here to connect to the higher frequencies. And, our collective has essentially been held down and suppressed for at least 120 years. And now we're starting to, what they call raise our vibration, but it's really just switching on who we are anyway, what I call the true human and what Mary Rodwell calls the new human. But I think it's who we have always been. We are a high vibrational species. We're very, very heart-led. We have a full range of emotions. The lower emotions are designed for us to learn things from. And we're not supposed to sit in those emotions. You don't sit in guilt or shame or fear or anger or pride, You experience it. You learn what it is, you want to learn or experience, but you sit in the higher frequencies of love, enlightenment, peace, compassion, unconditional love, all these sorts of, and when we stay there, then we create a beautiful world on this beautiful planet. And we can do this. We can do this now, today. All 8 billion people, if we all say, right, at this moment in time, we're all going to raise our vibration and just sit in that beautiful, that beautiful frequency of unconditional love, or that beautiful frequency of love or compassion. If we all did that, we'd be out of this mind matrix, because they program through the mind. You can't program the heart. The heart can't be infiltrated. It's the mind that can be lied to and infiltrated and programmed very, very, very easily. And that's another reason why the heart has been shut off as well. Everyone's busy, all on the mind, busy trying to manifest, the better reality through their mind. It's not going to work. We need the heart and the higher frequencies as well. So I'm not too sure I actually answered your question there, but I went off on a bit of a tangent. But I hope it answers your question.
No, I loved it. I loved it because what you shared there is so important for everybody to understand, because you are so right. We've been literally intentionally had our heart consciousness hacked off, or at least that's what they've tried to do. But it's really impossible to do that because of the awakening that's happened in the last 4 years. You can see them becoming more and more and more desperate with the things that you see going on in the world. Like one of a guy I've been doing quite a bit of work with recently, the incredible George Kavasalas. He says that what we're doing is coming back to the natural way of life and the natural way of love. And I cannot agree with that more. There's nothing that these nutters can do to stop this global awakening, but it's whether or not, as you've said many times there, we choose to come together collectively as one to then start changing the morphogenetic field, as Rupert Sheldrake brought to life a few years ago, so that the frequency of Gaia, who's working with us, the spirit, the essence of the planet Gaia, its consciousness, her consciousness. She's waking up and she's shaking off all this nonsense, and she wants all of us to come with her. And if we don't, then that's up to us. But the planet is ready for this change as well, because yes, the Earth does have consciousness. I mean, because we see just such a tiny, tiny fraction of the known energy spectrum, and that's the known energy spectrum. And then you start getting into trans and interdimensional consciousness and existence, which is where our planet resides, because we can't see her with our eyes, but we can feel it. And it is time for every single one of us to wake up and to connect with ourselves primarily, and connect with each other. Because I love what you said there about the awakening and enlightenment. Because one thing I've really not just seen intellectually, which is it's like a great example of what you just said, Elisabeth. I've not just seen it intellectually, but I felt it here so strongly, and that is that awakening and enlightenment isn't something that we go out there to go and find and do.
No.
But it's actually all about just stripping off all the nonsense, all the dysfunctional programming. You're not good enough. You need to have this Ferrari. You need to have this expensive house. You need to be seen in these places. We have to compete. I have to win, therefore you have to lose. It's all nonsense. Awakening is stripping away, letting go of, and alchemizing all that dysfunctional programming and coming back to the truth of who and what we are, which are these ineffable, immortal creator beings having a brief human experience. Because again, as you've said many times there, I cannot emphasize enough the power of understanding how creation works. Because I loved what you said there, that every single one of us is manifesting, but most of us are manifesting a shit life that we don't want, and really, really awful outcomes. So hang on a minute, if we can manifest what we don't want on repeat, why don't we learn how to manifest what we do want? And that involves primarily coming back to the heart and having the heart inform the mind, as opposed to the other way around, that we've been conditioned to make everything mental and then trying to push that down into a feeling of motivation and determination, which are just completely untenable in the long run.
Well,
So one thing. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say I actually teach intuitive development to people as well, and what I realized from the teaching is that it was all mind, and that's what helped me to understand that the new age spirituality is also a hijacked program as well. It's also a program, and anything that teaches where it's just all mind, it's because the programs go into the mind starts to believe certain things, and I do think that it can be hijacked and pulled off into different directions. But now I've understood, and I can see more and more that the intuitive development teaching, if you add the spiritual element to it, which is the heart, then you actually get the fully functional human again, which is all of these different abilities, the mind, the mental abilities, the emotional intelligence or control, the heart-led, or heart-based intentions, pure intentions. It all works together as one. And as you rightly say, it's the human body. We don't have to go out there in order to experience anything. And I think we are surrounded by guides and angels and things, but I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to tell us that we're the one with the power. They're there supporting us. They could even be just archetypal aspects of our own mind. I think many of them are. But either way, they're all there trying to sort of get us to this route. And that's why, you start out with the spirit guides and all these sort of things. Eventually, you'll get to this true understanding is that you are the universe. And that's when all these other things fall away, and now I used to work with guides. Now I see them standing miles away and I say to them, but why are you standing all the way over there? And they say, because you don't need us. You are the one, you are the universe. You are God, you are the one doing all of this. And that's, I think, hugely important. And I know many people, say that, humans are the kings and queens of the universe. I don't believe that. I think we're all equal. We are all equal. It's just that we have been taught in a very, very, very different way. We haven't been taught how the universe really works, how the multiverse really works. We haven't been taught really what ETs and aliens are. It's all been mushed together in this, Hollywood factory, churning out weenies, in their horrible, like just churning out mush, and all of our brains are turned to mush, and it's just, that's the thing. We're waking up now to the real truth of who we are. And yes, we're very, very, very powerful, but so is every other being and entity in the universe as well. And, as we said, the planet is also a living being. It's just that living beings don't always look like us. There's a huge energetic, spiritual aspect to our universe as well, which we have not been taught. It's been lumped into religion. Now it's been lumped into programmed new age spirituality. It's always being lumped into somewhere and misrepresented, mistaught to us. And now I think, we need to understand that we are the universe, and understanding more about how our body works, how our mind works, how intention works, how the heart works, releasing all the trauma from our collective, which the field of epigenetics has proven to us that trauma is passed down in our DNA. So if our parents and grandparents and their grandparents are traumatized, that's landing on our plate, and we have to work on releasing that. Yes, it's not our stuff, but we have to release it. And the more we release it, the more we raise our vibration, or we raise our frequency, our internal frequency, and we can again connect back to those higher frequencies, what they call higher consciousness or higher dimensions, because dimension is just a state of being, it's just a frequency, a different frequency. And, this is why I think it's such an exciting time. We should be teaching this stuff to children in school. I'm very much hoping that we can start teaching this to people. I'd love to start teaching this stuff to people now, to get them to really understand what their physical body is designed for, what they are here to do, to experience. I think it can be a beautiful adventure that we can have on planet Earth. But we have to remember that the planet was hijacked, whether, it's by reptilians or the elites or Illuminati or secret societies or, whatever other ETs, regressive ETs, or whatever it is, whatever you believe, there has been a darkness on our planet, and also the archons, interdimensional beings, which I think that they play a big part in this, actually. But whatever you believe, there has been a darkness. There has been this, invisible layer of government, as Einstein said. And all the great minds have referred to this. They've all talked about it. It's been going back for thousands of years. It's talked about in the Nag Hammadi texts as well, which are thousands of years old. We have to wake up and understand the uncomfortable truth that our world has been programmed and hijacked and taken away from us. And that's why we're having miserable lives. And that's what I'm hoping to say in my book. But now is the time for us to claim this back. We don't have to have these miserable lives anymore. We have to claim back our world and kick, this darkness off our planet, because it's just a vibration. We raise our vibration. We literally, they cannot get to that high vibration. They exist in the low vibrations where fear, anger, guilt, shame is. They can't exist at the higher vibrations. On a vibrational frequency, it's not possible for them to do so because they're not a higher frequency themselves. So really moving through the heart, becoming more spiritual, raising ourselves up into these higher frequencies, we will no longer be able to be programmed or hear those negative voices in our head anymore. So
yeah, and it's such an important. Yeah, it's such an important point there, that one, Elisabeth, about the fact that these parasitic energies that we can't see, like the archons, the reptilians, and so on, they need us as a food source, which is why they're so terrified, because they're parasites. Therefore, they take but don't contribute anything back because they're incapable of doing that. And that's why we're so subdivided, wars everywhere, set off against each other, 8 million pronouns, and so on and so on and so on, to keep subdividing and subdividing, because they are absolutely terrified of what's going on at the moment, which is that we're waking up, because they need us to stay low vibration, because the quality of that low vibrational energy for them is so powerful because of our capacity for infinite love, infinite creativity, and the fact that we're immortal creator beings. And so I really want to emphasize that to anyone who's listening who thinks, well, what can I do in this crazy world? You can do everything. And the first thing to do is to start working on our own traumas and start healing ourselves from the inside out, whatever it is that is allowing a doorway for them to connect to us. So, I mean, for example, I had a hell of a lot of trauma as a kid and a teenager, and I've done a lot of work to heal that, because I realized that it was keeping me stuck. But what I've come to realize is that it's a free lunch, a free dinner, a free non-stop food source for these things. And what you were saying there about the generational trauma, 2.5 years ago, I did a paternal line healing that was so unbelievably exhausting. Like, if I'd known beforehand, I probably would have thought twice about doing it. It literally took me about a week to recover from that energetically. But wow, the impact that had, not just on me, but on the paternal line going backwards, bearing in mind there is no time, was absolutely incredible, which is why it's so important for us to do the work. And, if you are feeling that sense of, well, what can I do? Start here. Start with yourself. What trauma are you still living through? What trauma are you still playing in your head that might have happened 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago even, but that we're still replaying, still activating, still feeling as though it's still happening now, still not feeling good enough, still being frightened to step out and share our voice, whatever it might be, is work on whatever it is that is keeping you stuck. And again, the effect that has on the collective consciousness field, the morphogenetic field, it just, I think words can't describe how powerful that is, and how helpful that is for Gaia, as she asks us collectively to step into our power, heal each other, come together, be together, and work in symbiosis and harmony with the whole of creation, which we've been intentionally sliced and diced to do the opposite over thousands and thousands of years. So the one thing I did want to ask, which has fascinated, sure.
I just want to say, just if anyone is feeling exhausted by the idea of working on themselves, can I just say that because the energies of the planet are really, really, really shifting fast, they're rising fast, then just for people to know that because of this, it means any self-development work, any ancestral healing, trauma healing that you do is going to work 150 times faster.
Elizabeth, sorry to interrupt you, but you froze on this end, and I'm not sure if that'll come through on the recording. So could you just start that little piece again for us?
Yeah, of course. So I just wanted to say, if anyone's feeling really exhausted at the concept of having to work on themselves, because they're working 12-hour days, and when they get home, they're just exhausted and can't do anything at all, then I just want you to know that because of the rising energies of the planet, and the fact that, that all the energies are rising, because we really are getting help. We've got light codes coming in. We've got solar flares coming in. We've got, all the crop circles. It's all, the crystal skulls, all this stuff. It's all coming in, and it's all helping to raise the collective consciousness and the consciousness of the planet. So, whether we call them ETs, aliens, entities, beings, transdimensional beings, whatever it is we call them, I really think that they are helping the planet. And it's also, sorry, it's also our destined time as well to move back into this golden age, which, the Mayans and the indigenous tribes talk about a lot. So this is the perfect time. Whatever self-development work you do now, it's like it's being magnified 1,000 times, and you will heal much faster. So now is the time to do it. So working on your traumas, your ancestral healings, any traumas from your childhood, even past life trauma, because I do past life regression therapy with people, and there's a lot of past life stuff in there as well. But anything at all. And your mind will bring it to your attention. If you have an interest in Atlantis, then it's probably your mind saying to you, you had a past life there. This is something you need to explore. So it will drip feed. It will put little, plant little seeds in your own sort of mind for areas to research and look at. And any healing you do now at this time is going to work really, really, really well. So, join some group ancestral healings. There's a lady in the US. She does these free ancestral healings. I can send you the link afterwards. She's called Sue Chimino. She is really good. It's amazing. There's a lot of healers doing free stuff now as well. Any ancestral healing meditations that you can listen to on YouTube, just do what you can, because it's not our trauma. So because of that, it's releasing fast. We don't have to live with this low vibrational energy anymore. But we have to give permission. We have to set the intention. We have to say, yes, I release it. And then it's like, whoosh, gone. But we have to give permission. We have to say, yes, I want to release it. So I just want to say that, just so people know that, it's okay. Whatever you do is fine.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And thank you for bringing up that, because, there are many people who are living such incredibly busy and chaotic and stressful lives. So I'm really pleased that you shared that, because I think it makes it real for people, because again, it's very easy to fall into that. I'm so busy, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed out. How am I supposed to do anything? So
can't handle conspiracy theories and hidden history. Because it's just another oh my God, this world is so terrible. I can't handle any more terribleness, And I totally understand that, which is why I write my books in a very high vibrational way. It's just information. I think truth and information is so important. I'm not, they're not written in a dark, David Icke way, where you feel traumatized at the end of it. It's not at all. It's all about hope and how we're receiving help. We're being supported by our ancestors even, because I think many of our ancestors came from other planets. We're getting all the help and support we need now, but we have to do the work on the physical plane, the physical planet Earth. We have to do that here. And, this is why working together as a collective is so important. And, like I said, understanding about our true history, I think is really, really, really important, because if you don't know who you are, how do you know where you're going, And if you don't know who you are, you're like sort of, a little lost child that can't find their parents, and that's what humanity's been like for thousands and thousands of years. And it's very important now that we learn, to become empowered, strong individuals, which is what we are, but living within a collective framework as well on our planet. And I think that this is a wonderful time, and that's why I write my books in such a hopeful, inspirational way.
Yeah, and that's a really important point about the truth, because right at the start of the conversation, you mentioned that in schools we're probably only getting 10 or 12% of our evolution. But I also think that a lot of it is intentional mis or disinformation, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I just like to say outright lies sometimes, and I think history teachers and college professors, they don't even really know themselves, because the system is designed to keep them very, very compartmentalized. But the reason I want to bring that up is for people to understand that what we've been told, a lot of what we've been told, either just isn't true or has been shared with the intention to steer us in the wrong direction. You could call it a half-truth, misinformation, or whatever, because the first couple of words of the book's title are human origins. And I was fascinated to read on page 20 that we found, they're saying that humans and civilization have only been around for a small handful of thousands of years, but yet you found out that 500 million year old zinc vases have been found. A 3 billion, not million, 3 billion year old Klerksdorp sphere has been found. A 300 million year old bell that was found in coal. And I mean, this should be global news.
Yeah.
And the obvious question is, why isn't it?
Well, exactly. And there are many, many of these researchers trying to get this information out. So this comes from Michael Cremo, but there are many, and he gets his information from, sort of archaeologists, working in the field. They're not allowed to put this information out there. If they do, they're ridiculed, their reputation is gone. And again, like saying these dark forces, there is this sort of, this thing, going on in our world, which is stopping this beautiful new Renaissance coming out. So I think that the Renaissance was another one of these spiritual growth times, when everyone was like, oh my God, yeah, wow, we can see the truth, and, yeah, we want to follow the heart and go there. And of course, then come down, they crush them. And, because humans are such, beautiful, loving, caring, compassionate individuals, we always keep rising up again. Every time we rise up, we get crushed down. And of course, there is this idea about the Great Reset, that the last Great Reset, 1776. And this is a very, very interesting time. But that was when Tartaria was wiped out, and it was reset. History was reset. And, I just think that this is being done, like properly, it's purposefully being reset now. But for example, when we look back at those, 3 billion year old spheres, whatever they're called, I can't pronounce it either. But
yeah, I can't.
Yeah, so Michael Tellinger comes up with a really interesting theory around these. This is a sign of advanced technology, and these spheres were probably created when advanced technology was being used. And then it would be left, so they were probably filled with mercury or something, that this was actually an advanced technology. So this is sign of a previous civilization billions of years ago. The zinc vases and things, again, radiocarbon dating is notoriously bad, actually. But again, that they're found in those layers of coal, so if we say that, you know, these layers of coal were actually created not millions of years ago, but, you know, more recently in global floods and catalytic events, which we've had many of, you know, then it's still showing us advanced civilizations, maybe not millions of years ago, but. And the other thing I found, which I thought was really interesting, was that coins with the heads of kings and queens that we don't know anything about have been discovered. You know, this again is proving that there have been these past civilizations, possibly many civilizations that have, you know, risen and gone down. And I think it's in the Emerald Tablets, the book, you know, but the book that was channeled by Michael Doriel, you know, not the actual tablet itself. And I think in there, Thoth was saying that civilizations rise and fall. And, you know, as he's astral traveling, he sees this happen on other planets. And I think that probably does actually describe what's happened on this planet. So this planet has held many different civilizations. They've risen up and then they've fallen for whatever, you know, reason that may be. But again, why is this not allowed in our history books? What's so bad about this? You know, what is so bad to think that we've had other civilizations before us? And why are so many people blocked to hearing this theory? Is it such a mad theory? I don't think it really is. And it's because if they have that theory, it can't simultaneously work with the ape theory. And for more than 150 years, the ape theory has been the absolute, you know, like foundation for everything else. If they wipe that theory out, and there are actually thousands of scientists who've signed a petition to say that they want Darwin's theory out because it's holding up our progression, you know, our evolution as a species. And still they haven't accepted that. They still keep it in there. They still teach it to children. It's still in the Science Museum in central London, you know, it's still there. And that's the problem. That is the foundation of our civilization, is this theory that we evolved from apes. If you take that one out, everyone's like, oh my God, then what am I? Who am I? If I'm not an ape, then what am I, you know? And you can see how taking that one out is going to have repercussions, you know, but this information, it's coming out, and I'm honored to be part of this field where we're getting this information out to people. I get a lot of stick for it. I get, you know, a lot of anger from people for it, because literally the foundation of their life is being shaken, and the mind can't deal with it. The heart can deal with it. The heart can deal with everything. The heart's like this little curious, open-minded thing that's like, oh my God, yeah, I want to learn more. But the mind is this, you know, parental figure saying, you know, you're going to go to bed early without any supper if you do anything like this, you know. So this mind and heart, but if you connect to the heart, you don't get blocked to new information. You don't get blocked to creative thinking. You know, you have that lovely, curious, childlike, you know, sort of way of looking at life, which is, I think, we need to come back to the heart. You know, in all of my books, I always say we need to come back to the heart, because that's the true us. It knows the truth of what's happened on our planet. It knows who we are. It knows where we come from. It knows why we're here. And that's the only thing that we really have to do, is, you know, so we can remember all of these lost, hidden memories.
Yeah, and that's so important, because as you've highlighted, and many others have as well, that so much non-religious but true wisdom about quantum physics and the nature of reality and who we are has been destroyed over millennia. I mean, most people watching this who are open-minded and have done even a sort of cursory level of reading and research into this will know that the Library of Alexandria was famously destroyed by, was it Constantine or the Roman Empire? But that's just one of thousands and thousands and thousands. But yet, no matter how many resets this so-called elite, which I call the parasite class, have tried, have tried to do, as you said, you know, we just keep rising up and rising up and rising up. And something tells me that this time, we're actually gonna do it. going to
We're
get
going
through, because I had a great conversation with Mary Rodwell a couple of weeks ago, which I'll be publishing very shortly. And that's exactly one of the core messages she was saying is that all these new humans, these babies that are being born with access to more power, wisdom, creativity and access to the all that is than even the fake gods. There are so many of them coming here that they wouldn't come here. They would not be coming here if they did not feel that humanity makes it. And I know many people like Edgar Cayce and people in modern times who are good, authentic, credible astral travelers and can travel backwards and forwards through the timeline have said, yeah, we make it. It's going to be bumpy for the next 2, 5, maybe even 10 years. But not only do we make it, but wow, we flourish and we thrive. And then thankfully one day all this will look back and laugh at all this nonsense that's been going on. But one thing I've been really curious to ask you, Elisabeth, is, given you've been doing this for some time, when you were researching human origins, what was the biggest surprise? What were the biggest oh my goodness moments that you had in the research?
I think it was all the different species of human. So we actually bred with the Sasquatch family, which shows that they are part of our Homo family. The elongated skull people, which we were all expecting to be off planet, they actually had a human mother. The father DNA, so the maternal DNA was human with anomalies, but still human. The father DNA, we don't know. And so this really helped me to understand that what we call human, even, we think that this is human, but is it really? Is this maybe also part of our mind matrix, our programming? Because how we look is based on our DNA, our genetics, but our DNA changes all the time. Because of wave genetics, it's every time we have a different emotion, it's changing our DNA. Our DNA is always changing. And that's another way which I think that our DNA is being changed also by off-planet species as well, is using telepathy, which we also have the ability to do. And I think that was taken away from us when we were added speech. So we used to be a telepathic species. We now have the vocal cords. We still are telepathic. We just have to remember how to do it, and also just realize that we are already doing it. You can always tell what someone's thinking around you. Yeah. You just think you can't. That's why you shut it down. But, I think that, just trying to remember your question. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent again. So yes.
Just basically, just what the biggest aha moments were in the research for the book.
Yeah, so that as well. And also understanding more about the entities and beings, so the light beings, which, this photographer in Yorkshire, he takes photos of these light beings and then he enlarges the photos. And you can see a little human form. It's amazing,
Oh.
And understanding that we are light beings. We're not physical. We're made of light. And, what we see in front of us, again, is not really real. And I do think, people talk about moving into 5D. For me, moving into 5D is being able to connect to the different parts of our planet that we've been closed down from. So I think the mind has been closed down into 3D, but we're living on a 5D planet. And the reason I say that is because in my understanding and from my research, and it actually makes sense to me, space or the cosmos is 5D. And we are part of that. But we've been sort of pushed away. Now, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, who knows? But I do feel, that I don't think we really know very much about us, our planet, the cosmos, any of these things. And that's why it's such an exciting time to be here, because we're going to be relearning all of this information. And so I think probably out of my entire book, probably the thing that I was trying to prove to myself, because when I'm researching for my books, it's always because I'm looking for the answers myself. And I could not get my head around the fact that we probably are related to an off-planet species, that we probably actually come from the stars ourselves. And this is something that I sort of felt, but I couldn't get my mind to come on board with where my heart was. And now my mind is nearly 99% on board with my heart, So you can rewire your brain. It's the field of neuroplasticity. You can rewire your brain, and make it think in different ways. But with the research that I've discovered, I really do think that, we are many, many different species. I think Michael Tellinger talks about how we're at least 6 different species. We're not all the same. We're 6 different species. I'm not going to get political with this because politics has made a mess, We can be different species and still, love thy neighbor. We don't have to all be the same. And, then you look at like ET researchers who are saying that we're actually up to 22, 23, 24 different genetics, with the rest of those being off-planet species. And I think, I think that is what we are. We have genetics of many, many different species for a variety of different reasons, which I go into a lot more detail in my book, as you know. But understanding that actually was quite mind-blowing for me, because we've been so ridiculed about the ET phenomena, haven't we? And even now it's being so programmed and hijacked, with alien invasions and, regressive looking ETs and stuff. But I don't think the ETs from out there are the bad ones. I think the bad ETs have been running this planet for at least 6,000 years from the research that I've found, and there's a lot of research around this. So this was something that was really hard for my mind to accept. And again, it's because the mind has been played around with and brainwashed so much with our movies, our education, our societal programming, that, it's just distorted everything and made it bad. So people feel fear about these things, which I think is really sad, because it shouldn't be something that we're scared about, It's us. Yeah. It's us. It's who we are. It's our extended family.
It should be the opposite. You're right. But as you've said many times already, that is the direction that we're going in. We've just got to get through this last bumpy bit. And I do genuinely feel, and many researchers like yourself and other credible people that I follow and listen to, all seem to be saying the same message through their own research, through their own connections that they have themselves with off-world species as well. We're almost there, because we're just about to start this amazing new age. We've finished the old one. We're just right in that transition phase of this wonderful new age, and it is going to be absolutely amazing. And given that we are all creator beings, for anyone who's saying, "Oh, shut up, you dreamer, you're just giving us false hope," remember that you are creating everything that you don't want in your life. So what if we switched that around and started thinking about, imagine a wonderful world where we had free energy, we could travel anywhere we liked, we get out of this money control system, and so on and so on and so on. So we're coming towards the end. One thing I really would love to hear you share a bit more about, Elisabeth, is chapter 13 is superhuman abilities, and chapter 14 is the future of humanity. So, as you've said, you wrote this with an upbeat, positive, what's possible energy, which I absolutely love about it. So I wonder if you could share with the audience a bit more about superhuman abilities and the future of humanity.
Yeah, so I sort of listed them here in terms of what we see in our myths. So from my research, I'm really understanding that our myths are actually true and based on a multidimensional reality, which we used to be living in, which the indigenous tribes are still living in. They don't see any difference between physical and spiritual. For them, it's all the same thing. And they see a lot more in the world than we see, which shows that they haven't been sort of shut down. So these, superhuman abilities, it literally, we're just connecting back to what we already have. But there are some in there that I think that the different extraterrestrial species that were living on our planet, and most of them look like us. There are, the Indian Vedas says that there are 400,000 human species just in the galaxy alone, or humanoid species, in fact. So I think that many of these different, so I know I talk about Archangel Michael, who is actually Archangel Michael, because El means God. And he started the entire sort of religion, the Quran, because he came and he spoke to Muhammad, and and he was relaying this information, and it's all information that all like everyone has been trying to get this information out, but it's always suppressed. It's always the same information. Be good, lead from the heart. Love your neighbor. It's all the same information. Yeah, and so we can see that he actually was said to have come from the Pleiades. This was an extraterrestrial species that came down. We then created a religion around it, which of course they possibly they would have done. But it's showing us that we have got, like many of the myths, that these were entities, beings that had access to all of their 12 strands of DNA, essentially. I think it comes down to this. So as you know, like 98% of our DNA is called junk. They don't know what it's for because it's not gene coding DNA, it's non-gene coding. So it doesn't code the physical body. So but many people say this is actually our true human form, and I think it is as well. And these 12 strands of DNA, they're connecting us to many, many more abilities. And there is a philosophy that says that all beings in the universe all have 12 strands of DNA. Ours has been cut down and chopped and turned into a 2-strand DNA, and that's why we don't have access to these abilities anymore. As the planet energies keep rising, it's switching on and activating our DNA. And Mary Rodwell talks about this. I mentioned her in my book. But as we're getting more and more of this DNA switching, activating back on, we're actually able to access more of these sort of superhuman abilities, if you like. So we still have telepathy anyway. The mind sight, which many people call clairvoyance, but the mind sight that we use for remote viewing. They've even taught children to read books using the mind sight. You don't just use you don't just use the mind sight. You actually, you use all of your different senses, but it's learning how to use the body again in order to be able to intuit things, in order to be able to, access energetic realms, other sort of states of being. And as we access more and more of this, I think that many more of these different abilities will switch back on. So I'm just trying to think of the other things that I had in there. So telekinesis, moving objects through the mind. You can go and learn this now. There are courses, people teaching it. You can learn it in 6 weeks, So it's proving that not only do we have access to these things, the brain needs to remember how to do it. It needs to rewire its neural pathways back to doing what it could do before. And this can be done, in 66 days. Harvard Studies talks about rewiring the brain, 31 days from other research. So I'm teaching people how to do this in our psychic development. I'm teaching them how to, not like telekinesis and stuff, but literally like just how to strengthen their own intuition, their own mind sight, their own clairaudience, claircognizance, things like this, in order to step back in, to the true human, the person who I think that many of us came to experience that. And there are other things in there which I think that the gods, who are the extraterrestrial beings, I think that they were the ones in the myths and legends, and they were the ones who were using advanced technology to do certain things, so parting the Red Sea, which I think Moses did. And, this is now, I think it's the work of Dr. Gerald Pollack. And he's now showing that there's a fourth state of matter, fourth state of water. And this fourth state of water is like a gel. And actually in laboratory experiments, they've seen that they can literally part the water and it stands like that, So understanding these things, it's just such an amazing time, all this new information coming out, and we're going to be able to play around with all this stuff. And it's advanced technology that the different, the gods, as they, the extraterrestrial beings or whatever, off-planet beings, or even inner Earth beings who are far more advanced than us as well, but they already have access to this technology. And if it's not technology, then it's actually from our own mind and heart. So I'm not too sure I answered your question. Did I answer it okay?
Yeah, very much so. Excuse me, because I just wanted everyone to, I wanted to close off the conversation for you to remind everybody just how powerful we are in terms of the latent abilities that are within us. And then also where we're going with the future as well, because, you know, we live in a gloom and doom world. And I just want everyone to really feel from the heart the truth of everything that you're sharing, Elisabeth, because it's so easy to get lost and it's so easy to get into this downward spiral of negativity and feeling all hope is gone. But nothing could be further from the truth, because think about anything. For something new to emerge, for something new to birth, what's gone before has to break down. You know, the old metaphor is the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, and this is kind of the stage that we're in at the moment. We're breaking down this old defunct system that hasn't ever served us and only serves the people who control it. And we're moving into this new earth. We're moving into the multiverse now, star ancestry, to use the second half of the book title. And I just want people to reconnect with their hearts, reconnect with their natural way of life and their natural way of love, and not get lost in all the Maya. Because, you know, if you're scrolling through social media, watching news, reading newspapers, if people still do that old-fashioned thing, you're just constantly doing what you said earlier, is strengthening those neural networks in your brain and pathways, making that dysfunctional programming stronger. But we can choose in an instant to let go of that. And I think that I wanted the end of this conversation to be this rallying call for hope for everyone to just put all that nonsense down and go, hang on, let's reconnect with ourselves internally in the ways that we've already discussed. Then let's see the love and connection with each one of us. You know, even the people that we hate or don't get along with or don't like, see them for where they're at. They're living their lives the best way they can, armed with the level of awareness they have. But they're still a reflection of us. And then on a sort of global and then a exo level in terms of other worlds, as you were saying before about the colossal number of humanoid species. I mean, we could talk forever about the galactic federation and what's coming and the help that we get in. But I think the most thing important is just for people to live in this place of not even just hope, but knowing that things are changing for the better, despite what we see with our eyes. So before we finish, as always, I ask every single guest 3 quick-fire questions. But given that you've already been on, I've changed them slightly, so I'm not asking you the same thing. So the first one, Elisabeth, was, if you remember last time, we put you in a time machine and we took you back to being 12-year-old you, and you gave that little girl 2 pieces of amazing advice. This time, we're going to jump in our time machine and actually fast forward 2 decades, 20 years' time. So what 2 things does you, in 20 years' time, what are the 2 things that future you is glad that you now has done and is doing from this point forward?
Well, future me is glad I've got onto this path, because actually this is what I came here to do, you know? I think it takes a long time to step into your true purpose, you know, and I don't mean, you know, like the made up online version of one's purpose. I mean, the true purpose that your heart actually wants to do, and the mind is busy trying to block you in every which way of doing it. So, you know, my true purpose is to show, you know, to show the hidden, you know, to help people see where we've been and where we're going. And, you know, and I'm so pleased that I'm on that path myself, and that I'm here, you know, sort of exposing this information, but also showing people a path, you know. And I will carry on walking this path. That's where I want to be. So however long I stay on this planet for, I want to be walking this path and looking back and making sure that everyone is okay and they're all on this path, and we're all following it together and we're all, getting to this great place, which is probably just a state of being as well. You only have to look at planet Earth to see that she's already beautiful. It's the mind, it's our own mind that isn't beautiful, that isn't fun because it's been so programmed. So it's just, releasing to wake up to the reality that we're already in the new Earth. It's just that we have to see that we are and feel that we are. And I hope I get to be on this planet to see all of these new things coming out. I'm constantly told that I am, not told, but when I meditate, I can meditate and connect, to whatever. It's always telling me that I will experience this, I will see this as well. And, when I ask how long, and it's like, well, that's down to you, that's down to humanity, that's why I want to sort of be like, push everyone, we've got to keep going, got to keep, push, keep going. We've got to, keep doing the healing, keep doing releasing, keep just stepping back into your true self, getting back onto your true path. Because when we're on our true path, we're connected to our heart and the truth of who we are. And truth is a very high vibrational frequency. And we need to be connected to our truth. We came here for a reason. And until we actually connect to what that reason is, and we walk that path, our vibration's always going to be a little bit off. So we have to be aligned, energetically aligned in life to be able to truly walk on our aligned path. So, I think this is really important. So it's, getting aligned and then walking that path. And, I hope to be here to be able to, see my children grow up, my grandchildren. I know that we're going to be getting all this amazing technology, which will lengthen our lifespan. The med beds alone can add 25 years to our to our life, and actually connect us to being a younger version of us, because they work from it's holographic technology. So it takes a younger version of us, brings that DNA into the body, and energetically creates that DNA. So, the energetic blueprint of us, if you like. And it would be great, and I think I'd quite like to go off planet and have a look around up there as well. And
that's one of my faves. Is like, I really want to be able to look at Gaia from out there, like physically. I'm so looking forward to that. Oh, such beautiful answers. Okay, the next one. If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing in the world right now in this moment, what would that be?
I would like everyone to just have this awakening. I know they talk about the Black Swan event. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. I wish it would. I really wish it would. I would like everyone to just send this, this wave, this frequency wave across the earth, where everyone just suddenly wakes up, remembers who they are, is automatically connected to their heart. It is empowered to be strong and make this world amazing. So to have peace and love and compassion and unconditional love in their heart, to really know it and feel it. Because I think that's what all the problems are. People are very easily persuaded into fights and wars and murdering and everything, because it's all coming from the head, and the heart is traumatized. So if we could just release all the trauma from everyone's heart in one go, that would be a great Black Swan event if they could do that. And everyone could just connect back to their heart. That's it. The world has tipped. The world has tipped. We're in, the new earth, as they say. And we no longer have those low vibrational entities here anymore, because they can't exist at that higher level. We're naturally high level, high vibrational beings. We're naturally that, but we've been pulled down.
I am so with you on that one. I'm going to go and get us some magic wands after this podcast. Wouldn't that be amazing? Okay, the final question is, what are you most excited about right now, looking forward?
You know what is book number 3? I said I was
Ah,
going to break. I said I was
fabulous.
going to have 12 months off, yes, but I don't think I can. I just found another amazing, fascinating area to explore. So, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Because we did talk briefly about that off camera, which I won't mention now. But yeah, I like honestly, we're obviously here to promote this wonderful work. But honestly, Elisabeth told me what's in the next one, and oh, I better stop because I'm just going to start giving the game away. But yeah, I can't wait for that one either. Anyway, Elisabeth, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Honestly, my heart is just bursting out my chest listening to everything that you shared. And I want to thank you for the incredible amount of work that you've done to uncover all this and to bring it out into the world because, yeah, you know, you get a lot of ridicule for this and you get a lot of people trying to shut you down and mock you for it. It's not an easy task, but I love that you've just decided to stay true to your warrior spirit and the reason that you chose to come here, which is ultimately to research, find out, collate, and put together wonderful books like Human Origins, The Multiverse, and Our Ancestry, and get this out into the world. Because, as I say on every single podcast, with every conversation that I have, but it's true for it's true every single time. The world is ready for this information. We're hungry for it, not on a head level, but on a soul level. When people come across your information, I mean, I've had so many people who've watched the first conversation who've never come across you and gone, wow, there was so much of what Elisabeth shared that it just made so much sense to me, but I'd never come across it before. And I love that because it just shows that humanity is ready to remember who the hell it really is collectively, to work with our beautiful planet in symbiosis with nature, with each other, with everything that's alive, with the unseen, and to be the true humans, the Homo luminous that we are. So yeah, I just want to thank you for all the wonderful work that you're doing. So finally, before we end, tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing, your services, and where people can find you.
Okay, so yeah, so with my so I work with someone else, and we both teach intuitive development to groups. Okay, so we teach that. It's a 6-month program, and then there's level 2, which is another 6-month program. I've also got my books, as you know, and I also work with people on a one-to-one basis as well. So I do like one-to-one programs, like 3, 6, or 9 months, and it's essentially helping people to connect back to their intuitive, spiritual, energetic self, which I think is the true human. And also the plus side of all that, of course, is it helps you to connect to your purpose. It helps you to connect to the true magic of life, and helps you to find more sort of depth and and enjoyment, fulfillment in our life, which I think is missing for so many people. So that for me is the benefit of spiritual growth, spiritual living, is that you live with daily purpose, you live with daily fulfillment, daily meaning in your life. And I think that is actually what life is really supposed to be about. But we've had that, taken away, as you know. And
Yeah,
I
for
also have
sure.
a podcast as well, which I've just changed the name to The Great Awakening, because I really think that now it's all this information coming out, and I think now is the time, as you say, everyone's ready to hear it and connect with it on a soul level, on an epigenetic level. So that's on YouTube, and also, on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play, and all those places. And like also, you can do one-to-one sessions, like one-off one-to-one sessions as well. So past life regression therapy, energy medicine, intuitive coaching, and and I also do theta healing and quantum hypnosis with people as well. So I have many different modalities. I've studied many different modalities, and different things work for different people. But for me, it's all about helping them to live a more incredible life. Because I think we all should be living good lives. And it breaks my heart to see when people aren't. So that's sort of what I do, really. Human potential and helping people to connect to a better life, have a better life.
Fabulous, thank you. And I'm guessing that I'll put all the links in the show notes for the Great Awakening podcast. Presumably, your website is the best place for people to go for all those.
My website, and I have a free 4-week energy mastery course on there that they can sign up to. So Wonderful. It's elisabethhancock.com, and that's Elisabeth with an S, not a Z. So elisabethhancock.com. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And I will put those in the show notes for everybody watching. So finally, any last words you'd love to share with the Superliminal audience before we close off?
I think the same as last time, don't give up hope, keep going. And, connect with communities, connect with like-minded people, connect with people that really want us to see this world shift and change. Steer away from the negative, gloomy people, or I understand that they bring your vibration down, but what you can do is you can send them love and healing, because everything is on an energetic level, like you can send everyone love and healing, and it will affect them. It will help to raise their vibration as well. And just, connect back to your heart. So every day do a heart-brain coherence meditation. And you can find this on the Heart Math Institute website, or Dr. Joe Dispenza. He teaches it as well. So a heart-brain meditation. Another thing you can do is you can listen to the solfeggio frequencies. And if you feel that you have a lot of sadness and grief in your heart, because the heart actually holds sadness and grief, this is again shown in epigenetics. So if you feel that you have a traumatized heart, then you can listen to the heart-based solfeggio frequency, which I think is 5 to 8 hertz. But there's many different solfeggio frequency audios that you can listen to on YouTube. And often in the morning, I'll sit and I'll just listen to one as I'm working. And it's very good. At the end of it, you just feel so much brighter and happier and better, because it just clears out your energy, clears out your physical body even. It clears all the low vibrational energy out that we're picking up all the time from the low vibrational energy around us,
Yeah, so, thanks so much for that. I was just noting down there that I'll put those on the show notes with the heart math and some.
Also, one other technique that they can do at home is use kinesiology to find out what your limiting beliefs are. And then you can use EFT or tapping to release them. And these are techniques which you can do by yourself at home. It's actually all in my first book. All these techniques are in my first book, because I wrote that book as a way for people to do their own healing at home. But again, these are what these techniques are. So,
yeah, fabulous. And Elisabeth's first book is actually right behind her for anybody who's wondering.
Yeah. Work your energy.
Work your energy. Fantastic. Well, Elisabeth, thank you so much. It has been such an honor to have you back for a second conversation on Superliminal. I could listen to you for hours and hours and hours and hours. This information that you shared and the way you share it is so captivating and so empowering for all of us. So thank you ever so much for sharing everything that you have with us. And to everybody watching, thank you so much. If you're still tuned in, round of applause. I'm so grateful. Thank you for being here. And as always, please do subscribe, comment, like, and then share using the share function in YouTube to get this wisdom from the wonderful guests that appear on Superliminal to more people like yourself who really are ready to hear this. But apart from that, thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Elisabeth, and we will see you again soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.